In this demonstration, I will be uploading files to an S3 bucket using the CLI. Now I'm going to use the CLI on my on-premises computer. I've already downloaded and installed it. So the first order of business would be to run AWS configure, where it will remember my previously entered access key and secret access key. My default region is US East 1, and I'll accept the default output format. So I am now authenticated to my AWS account. I can check this with AWS S3 API list-buckets. Sure enough, there's the list. Okay, we are in. Now, if I were to type dir on my local computer, I'm currently on drive C, it's a Windows host, under the TMP folder. I've got a number of project files, they're .txt files. I've also got a budgets folder here that has a couple of budget TXT files. Here in the Windows File Explorer, I'm just going to paste in another sample file, but this is a different file type. It's an XLSX Excel spreadsheet file. Okay, and of course that shows up here at the command line when I type dir for the TMP folder on drive C. Okay, so the first thing I'll do to get some content copied up into S3 is I'll run AWS S3 CP, CP meaning copy. Now for clarity, I'll just put out the full path, c:/TMP, and I'll use wildcards to tell it I want to copy all TXT files, so I'm not going to specify an individual file here. I'll specify the target, which is S3://, that's the notation, projects-east, which is an S3 bucket I already have created. Then what I'll do is I'll add --recursive. What I'm saying is I want to take everything in c:/temp. I want to recursively go through the entire hierarchy, and I want to copy it all into my projects-east S3 bucket. Let's see what we get. Okay, the output tells me it uploaded everything. Let's go check our work in the console. Okay, so in my buckets view, if I open up projects east and do a refresh, indeed, we've got all of our local files, including recreating folders like the budgets folder and the files within it that are now within the S3 bucket. I'm going to paste another sample file into c:/temp. It's called role-policy.json. All right, I'll clear the screen here at my command prompt, do a dir. There's the role policy JSON. What if I wanted to just upload that individual file? Well, that would look like AWS S3 CP, I'm copying again, c:/TMP, and just specify the name of the file. Now, the target, of course, once again, would be S3://. Let's say I want to put that in projects-east again, just in the root of it, not in a folder within that bucket, and I would press enter. Okay, it looks like it uploaded it. Let's check our work. We can actually check our work right here at the command line. We don't have to switch to the console. What I could do is I could run AWS S3ls, which means list. It's kind of like the Windows dir command. And I'll specify my bucket, S3:// in this case, projects-east. And indeed, the role policy JSON file exists within that S3 bucket. Notice, of course, if I use the up arrow key, I can also use ls to list the contents of budgets, which is a folder in S3. Now, if I type in budgets, let's say in lowercase, I get nothing. But if I specify the correct case, so budgets has a capital B, we're getting some output. But we're not getting the contents of it. And that's because we just have to add a trailing slash after that folder name so it knows it's a folder, and then it returns the budget files. Back here in the Windows File Explorer on my on-premises computer, I've pasted in a file called budget4.txt in the c:/temp folder. So let's go ahead and upload that. AWS S3 CP for copy, c:/TMP budget4.txt. We want to put that in S3://. Let's say we just put it right in projects-east at the root of the bucket. So if we do an AWS S3ls, S3:// projects-east, indeed, our budget4 file is there. Now, our budget4 file, txt, I want to put that in budgets. So I can do that with AWS S3 MV for move. What I want to move is S3 colon slash slash projects dash east budget 4.txt, and I want to move that into S3 colon slash slash projects dash east. I better correct that original name here, projects, and I'm going to put that in slash budgets. Remember, the budgets folder in S3 has a capital B, so therefore I have to refer to it with a capital B. Enter. All right, that seems good. Let's clear the screen. Let's use the up arrow key here to do an ls, except we want to do an ls of the budgets folder. Well, that didn't work so well. It's not there. Well, that's because if we go back up through to our move command, we didn't have the trailing slash. It's so important with this stuff. And if I try to run that again, now we're getting an error because it says that file doesn't exist. What happened? Here's what happened. AWS S3 ls S3 colon slash slash projects dash east. What we've done is renamed the budget4txt to budgets because we didn't have that trailing slash originally. Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's easy to fix. AWS S3 move. You can use move to rename. S3 colon slash slash project east. The file is called budgets, no trailing slash. Otherwise, it thinks we're talking about the directory or the folder. And I want to rename that to S3 colon slash slash projects dash east and what it was called originally, budget4.txt. Of course, it's projects, plural. I didn't refer to that. Let's try that again. Okay, I think we're in good hands. Okay, so if I do AWS S3 ls, S3 colon slash slash projects, plural, dash east, we're back to where we started. So let's go back up through our commands to the one where we're running the move command for budget4txt, and the target folder budgets has a closing or a trailing slash. Because this is originally what we really wanted to do. Let's examine the output. If we do an AWS S3 ls of the budgets folder, aha, now our budget4txt file is where it needs to be. So the point is simply that you can do some basic file management using the AWS S3 command prefix here in the CLI.